It's incredible. Macky Sall going to Niger to restore democracy. Has he been able to restore democracy to Senegal, where he's coming from? And it's incredible. And we're all sitting down looking at this clown, taking everybody for a ride and pretending to be what he's not. Macky Sall, Democrat. Can you believe it? He's also in Abuja planning to attack Niger to restore democracy. Does he understand democracy? Incredible. The other one who went there was making more noise than everybody else is Alassane Ouattara. Alassane Ouattara, a Democrat. And Alassane Ouattara is a Democrat. He's finished building democracy in La Côte d'Ivoire and is now moving on to Niger to restore democracy. Alassane Ouattara. Unbelievable. This is a guy who was installed by the French army. The French army overthrew Laurent Gbagbo and put him there as head of state. He is going to fight another coup d'etat. Incredible. Withdrawing from ECOWAS. What will be left of ECOWAS? 16-member association, voluntary association of nations. 6 of the members are threatening to withdraw, and more will withdraw. ECOWAS would have been completely disintegrated. And one of the funny things, the first time I saw somebody addressing a press conference on this matters, to my shock, it was one of my comrades. A comrade with whom I've been in the trenches for a very long time. Very sober person. He was a rising academic and so on. Musa Abdul Fattah, he was the one announcing this. He's never held a pistol in his hand before. He's calling for war. Musa, you calling for war? You should take a pistol and go and fight. If you give him a pistol, he'll probably shoot himself. He's also there in his nice suit calling for war. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. What is this? What is this? I was so sure he was in a very beautiful suit and speaking, immaculate English and so on. I said, my friend, war is not the Queen's English. It's not your ability to speak the Queen's English. You must hold a weapon. If I give you a pistol today, you shoot yourself. And look, let nobody take our soldiers for granted. Our soldiers are human beings like us. They have responsibilities like us and so on. Our soldiers, they are not suicidal. Our soldiers don't want to go and die in any foolish war. Ghanaian soldiers will not die in any foolish war. Especially to save a useless president like the one who has been overthrown in Niger. So how are they going to wage that war? We will get Ghanaian soldiers, we fly Ghanaian soldiers into Niamey to go and fight. In any case, how many planes does our Air Force have? So how many flights a day are we going to make to send enough numbers of soldiers into Niger to go and fight? Crazy. They haven't even thought about this. And then Alassane Ouattara said, I'll give you 1,000 soldiers. Alassane Ouattara, you know. Yes, you give us 1,000 soldiers, you should go and wage war in Niger. 1,000 soldiers. These leaders, master, something is wrong with these leaders. I bet my bottom dollar these leaders, they have problems. These leaders have problems. The man we are going to fight to install is in the hands of those who have taken over. How are you going to extricate him from their hands? You are going to shoot you away. You will kill him yourself.
Whenever I say my PENDREAM TV there, I see them yopo
hinder the peaceful resolution of the crisis in Niger about the consequences for their action before the community. And then they also want to call on the African Union to endorse all decisions taken by ECOWAS on the situation in Niger. Let's listen to Mr. Pratt.
Well, it is now obvious that many of the West African leaders are beginning to look like clowns. It is also obvious that the number of them are so lawless is unbelievable. They are just implacably lawless, absolutely lawless. Look, the whole West African scenario with regards to what is happening in Niger is beginning to look like a circus. And I'm sitting back and I'm looking at the situation and I feel ashamed. I feel really ashamed, of the kind of leaders we have and the kind of circus they're running. These West African leaders, many of them, are demonstrating clearly before the world that they are not in touch with the aspirations of their people. And it's clear. Senna, this week, ECOWAS held a meeting in Abuja to decide on what to do with the coup d'etat in Niger. One of the people who went to that meeting is Macky Sall from Senegal. When he boarded the plane and flew into Abuja, what did he leave behind in his home country? He left opposition leaders locked up in jail. He left a riotous society where police were firing live bullets, rubber bullets, and tear gas against his own people who were protesting against his misrule. What authority does Macky Sall have to be discussing the matters in Niger? What double standards? It's incredible. Macky Sall going to Niger to restore democracy. Has he been able to restore democracy to Senegal, where he's coming from? That is incredible. And we're all sitting down looking at this clown, taking everybody for a ride and pretending to be what he's not. Macky Sall, Democrat. Can you believe it? He's also in Abuja planning to attack Niger to restore democracy. Does he understand democracy? Incredible. The other one who went there was making more noise than everybody else is Alassane Ouattara. Alassane Ouattara, a Democrat. And Alassane Ouattara is a Democrat. He's finished building democracy in La Côte d'Ivoire and is now moving on to Niger to restore democracy. Alassane Ouattara. Unbelievable. This is a guy who was installed by the French army. The French army overthrew Laurent Gbagbo and put him there as head of state. He is going to fight another coup d'etat. Incredible. Alassane Ouattara, who amended his country's constitution, which gave him only 2 terms, and continues to stay in office, knows about democracy, and is going to restore democracy. Unbelievable. We can analyze all of them. Why? Tinubu, his election results have not been confirmed yet. He's still in dispute. He also is presiding over a meeting of ECOWAS to go and restore democracy in Niger. What happened to these leaders? Why? Are we in cuckoo's land? Unbelievable. And then the rest of them. All the rest of them. Sierra Leone. Look at the crisis in Sierra Leone today. Only last week they arrested virtually half of the military officers in Sierra Leone and locked them up because of fear. You see, Sana, I wish I could take a peep into the meeting room. These are leaders who are scared of their own shadows. Leaders who know that their misrule is catching up with them. They are so frightened, and out of their fright, their capacity to think has escaped them. So they are just there running around the corner like some bull in some China shop, trying to frighten everybody else so that they are not removed from office. They can't frighten nobody. They can't frighten nobody. And they are so lawless, it's unbelievable. Under international law, and fortunately for us, there's a very highly respected lawyer amongst us this morning. No country or group of countries can legitimately declare war on another without approval by the UN Security Council. These ECOWAS leaders, have they got a UN Security Council approval for what they are doing? They want to restore democracy, but they don't respect the law. They have no respect for the law at all. They want to wage war without a UN Security Council approval. And they say they are democratic. Where is their democracy? Unbelievable. How many of them have consulted their people? In Ghana, for example, the president is required to seek parliamentary approval before he marches his troops into any war. Has the president of Ghana sought parliamentary approval for this reckless adventure? No. Tinubu, who chaired the meeting, he went to the Nigerian parliament to seek approval. They said no, we ain't going nowhere. So why is he presiding over a meeting to go and wage war when his own parliament has told him that he cannot wage war? Are these people fit to restore democracy anywhere? Unbelievable. In any case, what is democracy? So now what is this democracy? What is it? Check all the African countries, West African countries. How many of them have truly organized elections, the results of which reflect the genuine aspirations of their people, or the genuine choice of their people? This every 4-year election, so it's a joke. We all know it. What happens? The man with the biggest bag of money wins. The man who is able to manipulate the police and the armed forces on his side wins the election. These elections in West Africa do not reflect the genuine aspiration and choices of our people, and we know that. Should I cite examples? You saw all those videos about the Nigerian elections. You saw the truckloads of money. Is that democracy? Is that the democracy they are in a hurry to go and restore? Unbelievable. West Africa heads of states, my goodness, you are embarrassing us. And you do not speak for us. At least they do not speak for me. They speak for themselves. And you see, if they were to speak for themselves, even in their sober moods and so on, maybe. But these people are frightened of their misadministration and so on. They are frightened. They are kicking everything in their way. This recklessness must not be encouraged, must not be accepted, and must be resisted with the full force of all West Africans. Something happened at the Abuja summit, which is interesting. West Africa is made up of 16 states. Only 8 were there. 8 out of 16. What is the legitimacy of that meeting? What mandate did that meeting have? 8 heads of states were there, including one whose parliament has told him that he should avoid that recklessness and that they are not going to war. So what is the legitimacy of that whole exercise? Of the 8 which were represented, one state was represented at ambassadorial level. That country did not even send its foreign minister. The president did not go. Defense minister did not go. They say ambassador in Abuja go and represent us. That's how serious they took that meeting. What kind of meeting is that? You know, I can't believe what is happening. Look, I hear people say that, oh, as for me, I will not support any coup and so on. And unfortunately, my very good friend and brother Philip said the same thing this morning. Who are you to support a coup in Niger or not to support a coup in Niger? Let the people of Niger make their own choices. Why? We in Ghana, we'll make our own choices. We are about to go for an election in 2024. Nobody in any West African country has a right to tell us who to vote for and who not to vote for, or what system of government we should have and what system of government we should not have. So we should not become so arrogant as to think that we can decide what choices other people make. In any case, look at the circumstances in which choices are being made in these countries. Before the coup d'etat in Burkina Faso, 60% of the land territory of Burkina Faso was under the control of Islamic insurgents. 60%. It was not possible at that time to organize democratic elections. You cannot organize democratic elections when 60% of your land territory is under the control of insurgents. And these West African leaders, they sat in Accra and other places and said, no, we must organize elections. Where? In Burkina, 60% of land territory is under the insurgents. How do you organize elections there? They are totally out of tune. They don't know what they're talking about. In any case, how many of these West African leaders, so-called democratically elected leaders, can garner 10% of the support we see for these so-called coup leaders? How many of them? I saw the ECOWAS delegation, which made the mistake of going to Mali to go and persuade the people to hand over power. Did you see the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who met them in the streets and told them to go back home, and that they didn't want to see them there? And they didn't learn any lessons. They were not ashamed. They continue. If I were one of those days, I'd be so embarrassed. Yesterday, I saw the videos of Nigerians massing up in support of their government and against French domination. The other leaders, didn't they see those videos? How many of them, if they are overthrown today, would get that kind of support in their favor? How many of them? None of them. None of them. And they're only deceiving themselves. You understand? In any case, my brother, what are the issues? The issues are many. But I'd like to take the important ones. Take all French-speaking African countries. Take them together. All of them without exception keep their foreign reserves in the Central Bank of France. As a result, these French-speaking African countries borrow their own money and they pay interest on their own money.
To France.
To France. You understand? So these poor African countries, in fact, Niger is said to be the second poorest country in the world. How they came to that conclusion, I don't know. But that's the description. All these African leaders are sitting down. They don't care about this massive level of exploitation of their own, compatriots by France. But when a useless head of state is overthrown, they want to go and fight. Look, until recently, the presidential palace in La Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan, was owned by France. Until recently. And West African leaders are comfortable with that. And in fact, let me tell you something else. They are not only comfortable with that, they want to emulate that. Ghana was part of the Commonwealth. An association of countries which were colonized by the British. And we were all livid with anger. Then after so many years of independence, why do you belong to the Commonwealth? Given its history and so on. And that we should even get out of the Commonwealth. Then one of my friends became head of state in Ghana. He said, the Commonwealth is not enough. Ghana applied to join the Francophonie. So today, Ghana is not only a member of the Commonwealth, we are also a member of the Association of Former Colonies of France. Can you believe this? Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana, we have embraced the Commonwealth and we are carrying Francophonie 2 on our heads. Unbelievable. These leaders, are they West African leaders? These are surrogates of France, surrogates of the West. Look, if they tell them tomorrow that none of them should go to work, they should all go and sleep, they all go and sleep. These leaders we have. We are talking about a situation in which France has a large military base in Niger. The second largest drone base of the United States of America is also in Niger. West African leaders are not worried about that. Now the drone base, what is it for? Is it for growing cassava? The drone base, the US drone base in Niger, is it for growing cassava? Or is it for teaching our children? Or for what? It's to wage war. It's an instrument of destabilization in our sub-region. And the West African states have no qualms, they have no problems with that. Of course, how can they have problems with that when Ghana itself has, through a defense agreement, enabled the US to use Ghana as a base for warfare? How can they criticize that? They are happy with that. You know, and the effrontery. France tells us that if we agree to go and kill ourselves, if we agree to send our soldiers there to go and die, you know, somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's uncle, send them to Niger to go and die, they will give us $25 million. Insulting! One African soldier is worth more than $25 million. Our people are not for sale. The era of the transatlantic slave trade is over. African lives should not be sacrificed or sold for money. And they have to understand that very clearly. That period of the transatlantic slave trade is over. It's not coming back again. And the earlier France realized that, the better. That we should go and kill ourselves. And if we kill ourselves, they'll give us $25 million. What an insult. Incredible insult. You understand? Put that aside. My brother, after only 1 week of threats, go to the market and see the price of onions. The price of onions on the Ghanaian market have doubled. I don't know what is going to happen next week with the price of onions. And it will not just be onions, it will affect everything else. When I saw the amount of money we spent importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso, I was shocked. You understand? And you're going to wage war. You can't even produce tomatoes for your people. You're going to wage war. So if that is blocked, your onions are out, your tomatoes are out. Even those who eat kinky and fish, how are they going to grind pepper to eat the kinky and fish? You know, reckless decisions. Reckless decisions. You know what is happening? These sanctions are going to backfire on us the same way that the sanctions that the Western countries imposed on Russia is backfiring on them. And our leaders must wake up and begin to think. They must think about us, our interests, and so on. You understand? Now, see what has happened. ECOWAS today is at a risk of disintegration, total disintegration. Okay? You have Mali, you have Guinea, you have Burkina Faso, and another country saying that, look, as for us, if you launch this attack, we are withdrawing from ECOWAS. What will be left of ECOWAS? 16-member association, voluntary association of nations. 6 of the members are threatening to withdraw, and more will withdraw. ECOWAS would have been completely disintegrated. You know, and you know one of the funny things, the first time I saw somebody addressing a press conference on this matters, to my shock, it was one of my comrades. A comrade with whom I've been in the trenches for a very long time. I mean, very sober person. He was a rising academic and so on. I mean, Musa Abdul Fattah, he was the one announcing this. He's never held a pistol in his hand before. He's calling for war. Musa, you calling for war? You should take a pistol and go and fight. If you give him a pistol, he'll probably shoot himself. He's also there in his nice suit calling for war. Jesus Christ of Nazareth. What is this? What is this? I was so sure he was in a very beautiful suit and speaking, immaculate English and so on. I said, my friend, war is not the Queen's English. It's not your ability to speak the Queen's English. You must hold a weapon. And if I give you a pistol today, you shoot yourself. And look, let nobody take our soldiers for granted. Our soldiers are human beings like us. They have responsibilities like us and so on. Our soldiers, they are not suicidal. Our soldiers don't want to go and die in any foolish war. Ghanaian soldiers will not die in any foolish war. Especially to save a useless president like the one who has been overthrown in Niger. So those who are planning against the Ghanaian constitution, against Ghanaian law and international law, to send Ghanaian soldiers to go and die foolish death, they must think again. Because the soldiers will not die foolish death. And I can say that on authority. No Ghanaian soldier is willing to go there and die foolishly for some president he doesn't know. So they should be careful. Because this thing can backfire on us. And it's happened many times. Many times. We've seen that in history, and I can give you the historical examples of soldiers being moved into useless wars and coming back to lead rebellions against those who facilitated their death. Look, I'll mention one. You know that our independence struggle was spearheaded by ex-servicemen who fought in Burma and so on. Why did those ex-servicemen become leaders of the independence movement? Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Tipo and so on. The war taught them important lessons about how useless the British administration was and how they were being exploited. So those who want to push our soldiers into war must learn the lessons of our history. It is a very dangerous move. Then, Senna, look at the state of the Ghanaian economy. Look at the state of the Ghanaian economy. Prices of food have shot up by 300% in less than 2 years. Electricity tariffs are being increased by half. The price of petroleum products don't go there.
Welcome to another.
Now we say that we need to raise taxes to the extent that sanitary pads for women are even categorized as luxury goods. You are taxing sanitary pads for women in order to make money. And then you make all of this money and then you put it in a war machine to go and restore the president of Niger. Me, I should pay more electricity tariffs. I should, every call I make, I should pay tax on it. If I make mobile money transfer, I pay tax on it. And I do all this just to go and finance some useless, absolutely useless war to restore President, what is his name, Bazoum or somebody. What do you take the people of Ghana for? That they make all these sacrifices just for you to go and restore some president. And you say what? Democracy. Was that democracy in Niger? And then, another important part. We are talking democracy and how to restore it and so on. What is the value of that democracy? That democracy is valueless, absolutely valueless, if it does not deliver on its end goals. Democracy must extend people's access to social services. Democracy must improve the standard of living of our people. Democracy must lead to improvement in national infrastructure. That is how democracy becomes value. Democracy becomes a sing-song for the elite. which has no relevance to uplifting the living standards of our people, is useless democracy. It is not worth pursuing. And we must make that point quite clear. The only democracy which is worth pursuing is democracy which is transformative. Democracy which changes the lives of our people. Democracy which makes it possible for people to eat at least 1 square meal a day. Not the kind of democracy which moves the price of KK from 1 cedi to 5 cedis in 2 years. That's not the kind of democracy people would uphold. And then the other day I heard some very top government official in Ghana saying that, oh, as for Ghana soldiers, they would never stage a coup d'etat because they are professional and disciplined. All these military officers, what oath did they take? The oath which was administered to all these military officers, it was to uphold the territorial integrity of Ghana, to defend the constitution of Ghana and so on. So if we do not uphold the territorial integrity of Ghana, do not uphold the tenets of our constitution and so on, they will live by the oath which we administered to them. They didn't write that oath. We wrote that oath and administered it to them to defend our territorial integrity, to protect our constitution. After administering that oath to our soldiers, we should do the things which enables them to protect us, to protect our constitution, and to defend our territorial integrity. It was my brother Philip, I think, who was talking about the northern border of Chad, of Niger, and what is happening there now. My brother, the reports are frightening. Traffic has come to a standstill. Goods and services are no longer exchangeable. Articulated trucks are everywhere going there to take their onions and other products and so on.
Who's ready
Meats
to have
and so
some
on.
cool?
Because of this recklessness of our leaders, commerce has broken down completely. And you see, our leaders, sometimes, I wonder whether they even know our history. Do you know that the boundaries we have today, as African states, not as West African states, as African states, were imposed upon us in 1884? Otto von Bismarck, then Chancellor of Germany, invited his colleague European leaders to a meeting in Bonn to determine their spheres of influence in Africa. They put a map of Africa in front of them. They took pencils and arbitrarily drew lines across those maps, and those maps became our boundaries. So as I've always said, I know the border with Togo very well. You understand? You go to Ghana's border with Togo, you find one house. The bedroom is in Ghana, the kitchen is in Togo. That is the reality of the African continent. So you would find that in Niger, most of the people living in the north of Niger share the same language and culture with the people in Nigeria. They're even relatives. Their brothers, their sisters, their nephews, their uncles, and so on. That is what is happening on the border. And that is why Nigeria's governors on the border with Niger have said that even if the Nigerian Senate approves a war with Niger, they would not allow their territories to be used for that war. That's an important development. So how are they going to wage that war? You will get Ghanaian soldiers, you fly Ghanaian soldiers into Niamey to go and fight. In any case, how many planes does our Air Force have? So how many flights a day are we going to make to send enough numbers of soldiers into Niger to go and fight? Crazy. They haven't even thought about this. And then Alassane Ouattara said, I'll give you 1,000 soldiers. Alassane Ouattara, you know. Yes, you give us 1,000 soldiers, you should go and wage war in Niger. 1,000 soldiers. These leaders, Master, something is wrong with these leaders. I bet my bottom dollar these leaders, they have problems. These leaders have problems. The man we are going to fight to install is in the hands of those who have taken over. How are you going to extricate him from their hands? You are going to shoot you away. You will kill him yourself. You will kill him before the West African leaders. I don't think that even kindergarten children will behave like this and think like this. The man who want to go and install as head of state is in their hands. They are holding him. Go and install him. Hey, Master, look, we, the citizens of West Africa, have a responsibility, a big responsibility, to stop our leaders in their tracks. To tell our leaders that they don't speak for us. To make it plain to our leaders that we don't have a fight with Niger. And I'm talking about the youth movements. I'm talking about the student movements, the women's organizations, the trade unions, the political parties and movements, and so on. All of us have a responsibility to demonstrate to our leaders that they speak for themselves and that they will not be allowed to abuse our mandate to wage a reckless war in Niger. I am aware that there are many international organizations which are planning, maybe from tomorrow, to mobilize signatures to tell our leaders that they are on the wrong track. Let us all join those signature campaigns across the world. Let's mobilize millions of people, millions and millions of people across the world to send this message loud and clear to our leaders that we are not part of their recklessness. And that we have no intention of killing anybody from Niger. They haven't committed any crime. They haven't done anything against us. We will not kill them. If anything, we will think with them and act with them in order to build a more stable and prosperous West Africa. And West Africa, whose people control their resources and whose people exploit these resources for their own benefit and not the benefit of France or any other country anywhere in the world. We need to send this message out loud and clear. We have a responsibility to ourselves to wage that struggle until final victory. Alongside this struggle, we must listen to the voice of Kwame Nkrumah, who tells us that we should build an Africa without a bomb. And if we're going to build an Africa without a bomb, it's our responsibility to dismantle all foreign military bases on our continent. The masses of Africa, the masses of West Africa, we have a responsibility to ensure that no foreign government, no foreign country has a military base on our soil. We have to dismantle all these military bases and build a secure, prosperous, and workable West Africa, which works in the interest of the people of West Africa. That is our charge, and we dare not fail. Because if we fail, the consequences will be grave for us. If we fail, we will continue to have the Alaska Wataras as heads of state. If we fail, our central banks will be making losses of 60 billion and more every year. If we fail, our children will still continue to attend classes under trees. If we fail, our national infrastructures will collapse on our heads and so on. We dare not fail. We must win. And the first point of victory must be to stop this reckless and senseless war in Niger. We will win. Let's act together and we will win. We will be victorious.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's why the fire in cannot stop burning. There's a lot of messages that we are tracking on Facebook, but we do have to take a break and come back and discuss the matter of Cecilia Dapa, the theft case and the saga that has come as a result of it. So we'll be right back on the Mother of All talk shows, Alaji and Alaji, live on Pan African TV, also live on Radio Gold.
Dedi kama mamena PENDREAM TV ase. Na so far so good. Say open online portal e wo Ghana. Ah nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.